All right, guys, welcome back to Fan Insiders. I have Matt and Andy here with us today. We have some topics to go through regarding the NFL, since they're both NFL insiders, Andy with the Ravens, Matt with the Broncos, and the AFC West. Just talk about a few different topics, fun facts, fun topics, fun opinions. So let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about players that you guys think are underrated. So any players that are part of your teams or outside your teams in the league now or past, and why you think they're so underrated and why they aren't getting the attention they deserve. Matt, let's start with your first one. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Kmet from Chicago, the tight end from Chicago. And I think he gets often overlooked because of the other tight ends in the league, with George Kittle, Travis Kelce. So he doesn't get that much attention. And you got to figure the offense that he's in, which hopefully adding Ben Johnson in there kind of gives him a boost. But the guy is just resilient. He's tough to bring down. He's hard to tackle in open space. Last season, the 2023 season, 73 receptions, 719 yards, 6 touchdowns. And again, 47 receptions this past time around. So I think now with a competent head coach, he's going to get more involved and his name should be one that I would look for this season.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, especially when you have all these other tight ends that have a higher name up in the spectrum because social media has given that podium. So It's hard to sometimes be looked over. All right, Andy, who do you got for your first underrated player?
My first one is going to be Andrew Van Ginkel. He's a outside linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. I feel like some people were kind of talking about him, but he wasn't getting the recognition he deserves. I believe he had 11 and a half sacks this past year, which usually 10-sack seasons get talked about a lot, but for whatever reason, I didn't see people talking about him a lot. I think with the Dolphins, I don't think he ever touched 10 sacks. So I think, to see his progression is pretty cool. And I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about him.
Yeah, I feel like if you're not, getting all those sacks right out of the gate, some people might look the other way, not be paying attention. So good to look out for.
Yep.
Matt, you got another one for us?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Andy's division here, rival team, though. I'm going to go with Chase Brown from the Bengals. He came in late, in the back half of the season. And if you look at their offensive stats when he took over, their points per game went up, their rushing yards per game went up. Their yards per play went up. And this guy, again, he took over in the back half of the season and rushed for almost 1,000 yards. And, everyone else, that rushed over 1,000 played the full season. So to come in late in the season and rush for over almost 1,000 yards and your offensive production is going up simply because of that. I think that's, definitely underrated right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Andy, you got another one for us as well?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with my team, the Ravens. I'm going to go with Adarius Washington. He's a safety for the Ravens. There's a lot of ways to describe him. First, I kind of describe him like a little chihuahua or like just a dog that won't shut up, but has no fear in him because he's small, but he's also he's relentless. Whenever I watch the games, he will do things that I don't see other people doing that are bigger than him, like just make hits and stuff like that. And then he'll talk trash. He won't shut up. And I'll see his teammates try to hold him back and stuff like that. And he will not be quiet. And it's funny. I love watching him. The Ravens he just signed his restricted free agent tender today. And I love it. I wanted him back so badly for this season. But yeah, we hadn't really seen his progression until this season because we benched Marcus Williams and put him in. And he lifted this defense to a new level. I don't see people talking about him a lot, probably because he's an undrafted free agent. That's how he came in the league. But yeah, he is a joy to watch as a Ravens fan, especially.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to keep an eye out for him next year. Now that you say that, like a little chihuahua, I'm excited to see him play now and pay attention to him more. Do you guys have, I know I asked 2 or 3. Do either of you have another one to name?
Nothing coming to the top of my head right now. Yeah.
That's okay. I do have why do you think these players are so underrated in the first place? Is it just because they weren't a high draft pick, people aren't paying attention to them? Is it because, maybe they don't get as much playing time or there's other players just involved or all of the above? What's your kind of main reason for why these players get overlooked? Matt, start with you.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier about Kmet, just in the tight end category, when you think of tight ends, automatically you're not thinking about Kmet. You're thinking, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Gesicki from the Bengals. He's another one that people tend to talk about. So you're not really thinking about Cole Kmet, especially because, again, it's the Bears. Who talks about the Bears other than the Bears, you know? So I think that's, again, it's just the position group he's in and who's in that position group. Very underrated. And then again, Chase Brown, nobody really, he didn't really have a prolific rookie year, didn't get a lot of playing time. And then again, he just comes in the back half of the year. But again, when you think of the Bengals, you don't think the running backs. You think Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow. So, and if you want to go to the defensive side, Hendrickson, he's another name you think of when you think of the Bengals. So he's just someone that's not talked about a lot.
Yeah, Andy, what about you? Just kind of more reasons on top of that, if any, you have?
Yeah, I think for Van Ginkel, I think the way he started his career wasn't too great, and so I feel like people already didn't have him too much on their radar. But I think he's starting to put people on notice, as to how good of a player he really is. And for Washington, I mean, he went undrafted because he was 5'8", 180. He was too small for a lot of teams, and a lot of people see that as like he won't be successful. People said the same thing about Lamar, and Lamar is one of the best QBs in the league. But yeah, I think for him, I think he's just he's ready to prove something, and I think with him most likely being the front runner to get one of the starting safety spots, I think he's going to really have a breakout year. I'm excited to watch him because he is a joy to watch in every way you can watch football. So
yeah, absolutely. All right. Cool. Well, those are your takes for underrated players. Love all the picks. Next, we're going to move on to Matt thought of this idea to kind of discuss nicknames that defense teams have. We got, Matt with the Broncos. You have Orange Crush. That's a big one. You also got Steel Curtain. Sorry, Andy, for bringing that up. But, you got that one. And there's just so many. Yeah, it's been around a long time. And there's just so many other nicknames. So I want to hear your guys' favorite nicknames, who you think just kind of there's a lot that just stand out to a lot of people, and some that are a little underrated. Some people forget about them because they were, back in 70s, 80s, whatever. So Matt, let's start with you. What do you think are some of the best defensive nicknames?
It was a toss-up for me thinking about this when it came down to, obviously my guys, the no-fly zone, and then it came down to the Legion of Boom, but I can't stand Richard Sherman, so I don't want to give him any credit for that. But I think the most underrated one, and because people forget about it, is the Purple People Eaters, the Minnesota Vikings. Jim Marshall, Alan Page, Carl Eller, those guys. I think they get forgotten about because they were back with the dinosaurs like Mike was, our CEO. But that was probably my favorite.
Yeah, and just the name that stands out too, the Purple People Eaters. It's also a tongue twister, but
it is.
When you think of it, you kind of remember, you're like, oh yeah, those guys. Mm-hmm. Andy, what about you? What do you got some nicknames for us?
So initially I was going to say the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, but now that Matt, he brought up a good one, the Legion of Boom, I'm going to have to go with them because I cannot stop watching Richard Sherman trash talk, like mic'd up videos. I love them. They're so funny. He is one of the funniest players in the NFL. And then Cam Chancellor, I mean, that guy is like the Grim Reaper of NFL players. I mean, it feels like anybody who crossed his path was getting put on a stretcher or something. It was insane. I don't understand how someone like him can hit so hard. It just doesn't make sense to me. And of course, I mean, Richard Sherman is, again, not that big of a guy, but he's still, again, he's kind of like Adarius Washington. He's a little he's a little junkyard dog, and I love those guys. But yeah, I think, Legion of Boom I'm gonna go with.
All right, perfect. We got Legion of Boom and Purple People Eaters. Try to say that 10 times fast. All right. Last topic of the podcast here. Since draft day is either coming up or has passed, depending on when you see this, we're going to talk about draft busts. I asked the guys to name 2 players they think who was a draft bust, and like the biggest kind of what happened, what went wrong from college to then their NFL career, and why was it a bust? Was it because of the players on their team? Was it their athletic ability? What happened? What's going on? Matt, start with you. Your first one. What is your first draft bust?
My first one's going to be in-house with the Broncos. It's going to be Paxton Lynch. He was brought in by Kubiak to, hopefully take the reins over from Peyton Manning. And I don't think it was his lack of dedication to kind of like learn the game. I just think he just struggled trying to get the concept. He could not get the NFL schemes down, had a tough time reading defenses. And I just think the NFL was too advanced for him, unfortunately. So he's my bust. He's one of them anyway.
Yeah, that's tough. Just not being able to get the hang of it. I'm struggling that myself with Anthony Richardson on the Colts. I'm hoping he just picks it back up and shows us what we've been waiting for this whole time. Andy, what about you? What's your first draft bust?
My first one is going to be a Ravens pick, which is shocking because we usually do pretty well in the draft. But I'm going to go with Brashad Perryman. He was out at UCF, I believe. Yeah, he was picked in the 2016 draft, I believe. And I mean, back then we sucked at developing wide receivers. We've gotten better with developing guys like Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, but back then we just weren't good. Anybody who came through to Baltimore, any receiver, didn't do well. A lot of the free agent wide receivers didn't want to sign to Baltimore because we didn't use our wide receivers pretty much at all. But yeah, I mean, he had a lot of speed, but he just didn't, he didn't have the hands. He didn't, it just didn't work out. I guess with the Ravens back then, it wasn't, wide receivers weren't really a good thing for us because it never really worked out. So
yeah, fair enough. Matt, you got your second one?
I do. And a lot of my followers on my social media pages knew I was going to do it, but Jamarcus Russell. Jamarcus Russell is probably the biggest bust pick. I know Andy's laughing, but I mean, I think for him, I think just getting to the league, it went to his head. Had so much potential with the Raiders, and then he gets to the league and he didn't want to be coached. No one was going to tell him to change his game. No one was going to tell him what to do. He was going to play his game, and it wasn't his problem. His team was losing. It was the team, and just I think being in the league just went to his head, and he wasted that potential.
Yeah, that's too bad. Andy, what about your last one?
My last one is going to be Kenny Pickett. The Steelers picked him a few years ago. I have always, as a Ravens fan, I kind of also follow the Steelers a little bit because they're in our division. I've always had an issue with the way the Steelers ran their offense, and I guess their football team in general, because they can't win a playoff game to save their lives. It's a nice little jab for them. Anyways, but yeah, I think the Steelers just, they have this old school way of running a football team, and it just doesn't work out. They just can't do it. I think right now George Pickens is really their only notable offensive guy. And that's come back to bite them a lot. And yeah, I just think that they, ever since Roethlisberger, they haven't been able to find the guy there yet, and in this era of, scrambling QBs, they don't really fit that. They're more of a pocket, they're more of a team that's been successful with a pocket passer. So yeah, I think a lot of it with Kenny Pickett was just not on the right team, not in the right situation, not on the team that would develop him the best. I hope he can find something better in Philly, but yeah, I would say Kenny.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. I want to ask you guys one more question just because of the draft and everything. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about, maybe players are a little bit overrated this year. So I want to get just certain players from certain colleges that are coming into the draft. Is there any players that you think this year might be a draft bust that people maybe are talking about a little too much that might not have the potential to what it is to make it into the NFL?
Andy, you want to go first on this one?
Sorry. Yeah. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go first. This is going to be a hot take, but I've kind of had an issue with the way his dad has done some things. I'm going to say, or not his dad. Yeah, his dad. Shedeur Sanders is my potential draft bust. I feel like he has a big ego. I feel, he's always said that any team he's been on has done well because of him or something like that. And yeah, there's something about him that I don't like. I've liked Cam Ward way more than Shedeur Sanders for a long time now. But yeah, I mean, with the whole like rap career too and all that kind of stuff, I was just like, it's a little like, I've seen guys have rap careers in the NFL, but they're not trying to be a rapper as much as he is though. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like he might be one of those guys that's just like so hyped up, but he gets to the NFL and he's just not quite there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. Living 20 minutes away from Boulder here, he gets talked about too much, and I don't know if he's going to have what it takes to, be legendary or the GOAT or whatever he thinks he's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, what about you?
Honestly, I was going to say the same thing. I was going to go Shedeur. Not taking away the kid's talent. I think he can play football very well. I think he plays quarterback very well, but he's got such a big ego. They retired his jersey and the kid is one game above 500. So like, what is the reason? I think all this, the NIL deals, the getting the Cybertruck, the jersey retired, and the comment like any team I played on, Jackson State and Colorado, never had a winning record before me. So it's like you're in for a rude awakening, big dog, because now you just put that target on your back.
Yeah, there's grown men in the NFL who aren't going to take to his ego very kindly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been the Fan Insiders Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.